A warm welcome again on set. Of course, we've had several conversations traversing the whole of Nigeria and talking about major issues that are happening and many issues that have gotten Nigerians talking. But right about now, today, 8th of March, has been celebrated the world over as International Women's Day. And so today we are going to be giving equity a huge embrace and a huge hug as well. But joining us on set this morning to talk about some of the major things affecting women in society and also joining us to celebrate International Women's Day is Samuel Ibekwe, who is the Regional Manager, Southern Operations, Maristops. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Congratulations to Akwa Ibom women. Congratulations to the three beautiful ladies here with me. And congratulations to all African women who are beautiful. Congratulations to all the world women on their day.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you.
It's always beautiful to see a man celebrate women like this.
I was born by a woman.
Yeah, but before
I'm
we
married
continue,
to a woman.
Okay,
And I
let
have
me
two
introduce
daughters.
our next guest. Oh, Mr. Bekwe. Okay, so our very next guest is also a woman. Of course, we're celebrating women this morning. Ogwamaka Aginam, Regional Communication Marketing Advisor, Maristops. Many thanks for joining us. Good morning and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. I wish all the women in the world, in Akwa Ibom State, happy International Women's Day.
Fantastic.
Today is our day.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, International Women's Day 2023. Of course, this is something celebrated year on year, set aside by the United Nations and other international bodies to celebrate women. And today is no different. And today we are talking about reproductive choices and equity. Mr. Baker was asking us to embrace, equity wholly, and then we're talking reproductive choices. But I know.
And
I might
yeah,
have,
before
like,
you even go forward, the last time Mr. Bekwe was here, we were talking about what
Contraceptive.
exactly?
That was World
Contraceptives,
Contraceptive Day.
We were
yeah.
talking about contraceptive, and it was beautiful to see a man talk about contraceptive. And today he's here again to talk about women and, of course, our reproductive choices and equity.
So let's even just piggyback on that. What does today mean for the women overall in the world?
Okay, so internationally, today is established to celebrate women, to celebrate you, to celebrate all the three of you here, all your achievements in various spheres of life, your achievement in broadcasting, your achievement in every
Maristops?
industry that you can think of, your achievement in Maristops. And let me even say that the name Maristops is the name of a female doctor who started the issue of pushing contraceptive to the front burner in the United Kingdom. And so in even saying Maristops, we are celebrating a woman. Now, so International Women's Day is established to celebrate women, and it's over a decade, 100 years now, and still running, to celebrate the achievement of women in every aspect of life. There is no gainsaying the fact that women are marginalized, women are subjugated, women are seen as objects to be seen but not heard in most cultures, in most climes, in most settings. However, over the years, there have been movements, activities, and actions to make sure that these stereotypes, practices are no longer sustained, and women move up, come into the front space, be seen as well as be heard. And that is why a day like this is set up to celebrate such women who have done so, and then to bring focus to the plight of women where we've not had breakthrough in bringing them to the limelight.
Okay, let's even look at the theme for this year, Embrace Equity. Why do we have this theme, and why are we even talking about equity here, and more like equality as well? Let me talk to you, ma'am.
We are looking at equity because most times what we normally hear is equality. But I think equity gives rise to equality. And we need to look at women because we have different backgrounds, we have different orientations, we have different supporting structure within our homes, within our workplace, within the country, within our states. So equity is more like making a fair treatment just treatment to all women, irrespective of race, irrespective of background. So let's go further into this equity. For example, in your home, you may have female children. How do you balance your female children with the male folk at home? You know, in our mindset, most parents find it difficult giving equal opportunity to both gender. It's not that it's a conscious thing they want doing, but within them is inbuilt. This is a man, this is a female, or this is a male, this is a female, this is a boy, this is a girl. You are not supposed to do this, you are not supposed to do that. For the male, you are not supposed to wash, you are not supposed to cook, you know, stuff like that. So such stereotypes affect the way women are built up in the society. Women are quite wonderful in their all their endeavors, but the system doesn't, you know, support them fully to showcase what they have. Let's go again. Some families will build their children, female children, to even compete with the men in terms of career, say engineering, for example. But you find out at the end of the day, that woman that have gone to school to read engineering may not even practice it because of her reproductive issues. She may be within the reproductive age, and that will make her not to practice even her profession. She may decide to look at something less, let me not use the word stressful, less cumbersome. Somebody that must have read, say, engineering, at the end of the day may drop it and go into fashion designing, you know, cosmetology. Something at her comfort zone in the house, she can operate it effectively. So you find out these are the challenges. And in terms of equity, we are not looking at just treat everybody. Consider the background of individuals. There are people with disability, for example. You cannot, if we are looking at equality, you can say, okay, we want to empower people. Let's give them bicycle, for example. If you give everybody bicycle to ride, have you considered an individual with disability? How will the person ride that same bicycle? So you need to come up with a concept of a bicycle that will suit somebody with disability.
So,
That's equity.
can we even say that we can achieve equity, you know, in Nigeria? This is not the first time we've been talking about International Women's Day. This is not the first time we've been crying out loud concerning issues and challenges that are facing women in society. So if we have all chanted equality, equality, and we've seen 35% affirmative,
25%.
it's 35,
Now,
35%
upgraded.
affirmative actions. Even when we look at, you know, this last elections, how many women even came out for the elections? So can we achieve that thing called equity for women in Nigeria?
Yes, it is achievable. Recall that the push started from equality, give everybody fair chance to play. But now there is a paradigm shift to equity. So it means that the more we talk about it, the more the consciousness exists in us and the more action takes place. So now we have shifted from talking about equality to talking about equity. I am positively inclined that there shall be a time when there will be equitable distribution, allocation, recognition of all persons, both male and female, based on their circumstances and background. It is a process. It is not a project. It's a process that we continue to travel on. We've gained momentum in this. Prior now, what would have happened is have maybe 3 men and 1 woman sit in this panel to have this conversation. But you can see now we have 3 women and 1 man sit down to have this conversation. And when you look at also globally people who are championing the cause of women, you see that men are more championing the cause of women more than even women are championing the cause of women themselves. So the consciousness is there, the awareness is there, it is increasing, it will continue to increase. In most organizations now, you see a situation that you come into the organization, you have a space set aside for a nursing mother to stay. Some organizations have flexible maternity policies that allow a woman, even after 3 months of maternity leave, to also come to work from 8 o'clock to 12 or to 2 p.m. and go home. But prior now, this has not been happening. So the consciousness is there, the awareness is there, and things are happening to make sure that the gaps are closed. But we are not there yet.
Okay. So when we're still talking about reproductive choices and equity, let's still lean on equity just a bit before we go to the reproductive side of the conversation. When we look at countries like Afghanistan and we look at countries like Iran, even in recent weeks, there's been a lot of issues against the females. We are having, I think 2 or 3 days back, we had like a mass poisoning
India.
of females in schools. And we have a lot of policies and things continue to be done against the female gender in some countries. Now, like he said, there are people championing conversations for women in these areas to be emancipated from the oppression that they are facing. Although we have, you know, some progress in some other parts of the world, what do you say about the likes of these Asian countries that we are not, you know, seeing any forward movement with these kinds of conversations?
So you see, it is like some sections of the world are taking leaps ahead, while some other sections of the world are drawing the world backwards. Like you just cited Afghanistan, India, where some set of, in Afghanistan, the Taliban rule and law is restricting women from
Even
going
education,
to school.
yes.
In Saudi Arabia, women just got their license
Driving
or approval
license, yeah.
to start driving a car recently. But you know that it has been age-long when they were restricted from doing that. But advocacy actions, interventions continued until Saudi Arabia accepted and liberated. So I am positive-minded that in a country like Afghanistan, or let me class all of them as the Asian countries that have their cultural stereotypes that bring women and subjugate women, as the rest of the world keeps moving, they will remain a pariah. They will somehow be forced, their hands bent, to start also tilting towards where others are tilting. If you look at the international scene, you notice in India also, protests are taking place to protest against subjugation of women, protest against the wearing of hijab, covering all over. These protests, even when such governments are trying to repress them, they are making statements. Their athletes in the world are making statements. Some of the female athletes have to do mountain climbing without wearing their hijab. They are making very bold statements. And with time, the more this talk comes from this side, the sound comes from this side, the sound comes from this side, there will be much energy into it. And the ones who are not inclined towards caving in will eventually cave in.
Okay, let's even talk about the fact that, I like the fact that you say these days more men are even advocating for the women more than the women are advocating. And we know that there are cultural values and traditional values that tend to want to, you know, gag a woman in the typical African society. Now, how do we even begin to empower these women, you know, to come out and seek for equity?
So this is where organizations like Maristopes come in. In our activities, in our community activities, which are more of grassroots based, we continue to sensitize and help women to understand you have a right. When it comes to sexual reproductive health, you have a right. You are not just a baby-making machine. You were not just conditioned by our Creator to only stay there and churn out children as if you are a cash machine that churns out cash. You have a right to say, yes, I am made to carry the baby. I'm made to give birth to the baby. I'm made to also breastfeed the baby. Yet, I also have another life. I can pursue education. I can pursue a career. I can also be a professional in one thing or the other, in addition to this natural responsibility of procreation. My ability to procreate should not be a limiting factor. Instead, should even be an enhancement on my person.
But how possible is that in today's society, where you have, when once the child is born, it's the, you know, responsibility of the mother to cater for that child, or if you're complaining too much, then go get a house help. The husband is usually not there.
Okay, so there are changes. Like people in the field that we are, we see situations where women on their own come to our platforms to say, I don't want to continue having children again. Give me a contraceptive. We've seen situations where women come with even their own daughters and say, I need contraceptive for my daughter. and the daughter consents to say, I want to take up contraceptive. We've also seen situations where husbands come with their wives, and the husband will be the one to say, nurse, doctor, I am tired. I don't want to continue having children. Please give contraceptive to my wife. Situations like this abound every day out there in the field. And why should this be? Why are these happening? Because the sensitization, the awareness is increasing. Although we are not there yet, there are still situations where in some rural communities you see a young wife who has 4 children come out to say, I want to accept contraceptive, and the mother-in-law will chase after her to the facility and grab her and take her back home.
Or the husband beats her up.
Or the husband beats her up. So situations like this still happen. And that is why we continue to advocate to traditional rulers, telling them, you have a voice, you are a stakeholder. So in your palace, your wife is the wife of a paramount ruler. Talk to women, advocate for women's rights, advocate for people to go for sexual reproductive health services. And these are happening.
Okay. So just to lean a little back on reproductive choices, ma'am, because when we say choices, it connotes the fact that we can decide whether or not we want to reproduce, whether we want to procreate or not. Now, so when you're looking at reproductive choices and equity, what's the balance there? Because we also have a lot of women begin to push the conversations that, you know, reproduction is getting in the way of them having their lives. I was privy to some documentary a couple of days back, and I had a myriad of women regret that they had to give birth to children. That has gotten in the way of their careers or their life and all the likes. So what is the balance that we are looking at in terms of reproductive choices?
And let me just add this. And is it even in the place of the woman to choose whether she wants to reproduce or not? Does she have such rights?
Okay, so
choice
guarantees equity. Choice.
Let her say something,
Okay.
please. Go ahead.
Okay, like following what he said, choice guarantees equity. And for us in an organization, we believe in this law that have children by choice, not chance. Have children by choice, not chance. That's our mission statement. And as we move into these communities, we sensitize women on their body, their choice, and their future. Because you need to, you own your body. It is your choice to decide on any method of family planning or contraceptive you want to take. It's also built in your future. Because if you make a wrong choice, definitely it will mar your future.
Okay, so just quickly answer Oya's question before I give a follow-up question on what you just said.
So during our sensitization, we try as much as we can to balance all this. And for us as an organization, we also have options that speak to equity. In Akwa Ibom, for example, we are working using 3 channels that suit all categories of women in Akwa Ibom. We have our PSS channel, whereby any woman, whether rich or poor, can access family planning services in those facilities. We have the outreach that is primarily targeting the poor. So in terms of equity, we find a way that for us as an organization, we prioritize into that, and we deploy that using our channels to reach out to our women in their different sector, in their different locations here in Akwa Ibom State and other places in country where Reproductive is operating.
Okay, I think the follow-up question I actually wanted to ask, your choice equity, right?
Yeah.
I've had a situation of a family that the man says, I want 2 children. And the woman has a choice to get pregnant again without, you know, necessarily letting the man know I want to get pregnant. And that child comes, that pregnancy comes, and the man tells her, oh, that's your own to take care of. I'm not going to take care of that child because I told you I wanted 2 children. So how now do we now say that, oh, reproductive rights, women should have reproductive rights?
Okay, so the man there failed in his duty to back up his decision with action. He made a decision, I don't want another child. But he is the one, believedly, since they are in a union, he is the one believedly who had a relationship with the wife resulting in the pregnancy. And he ought to have known that every sexual relationship with a partner with the opposite sex could either result in pregnancy
Mr.
or
Baker, we
not.
know how women do these things.
Okay,
Talk
so,
to me
so
here
the
now.
man
We
would
know
have
how
taken a
women do these
contraceptive.
things.
So this is where equity comes in now.
The woman
in
can lie
everything,
because she wants to have a baby.
In everything about sexual reproductive health commodities, equity is guaranteed through a lot of choice available. There are various methods for contraception, both for male and for female. So the man that says, I don't want another child, instead of expecting just the lady alone to go for contraceptive, should on his own take up a contraceptive that
I'm
will
going to
make
do
him...
episiotomy.
Vasectomy.
Vasectomy now.
Aside vasectomy, there is condom,
You can use condom.
Okay.
which is very commonly available.
But there are a lot of married people who believe that it's just uncomfortable as a married couple to use it.
But he
use
should have been
condoms.
conscious that not using a contraceptive by him would result in pregnancy for a wife who he has already known had disposition towards having another child.
In a society where men believe that the women should know what to do not to get pregnant.
Well, men also know, I'm a man now, I know what to do in order not to impregnate a woman.
Okay, so Uguamaka, please.
So for me, in that scenario, there's no agreement between the two. Yeah, because for family planning to work is an agreement between couples or individuals, or the number of children they want to give birth to and the interval. So you find out that the man desire not to have, whereas the woman still wants to. So they didn't even agree on what they want from onset. So situation like that, the man, since he doesn't want, should have protected himself.
Yes.
He insisted on protecting himself so that the woman will not get pregnant.
Yes. So he failed. He is the one that failed, not the woman.
Failed the process.
So it's the failure of the man.
It's
at
the
that
failure
point.
of the man at that point. And so he should accept his responsibility because he is the one that made the child to come out. So he should accept the responsibility and not abdicate it to the woman as a way of punishment to the woman. Since you are the one that wanted it, take it. But she didn't go outside to get it.
I've seen also a case where people during courtship, you know, they just discussed. The man said, "I want to give birth to 2 children." The woman said no, that she can't give birth to just 2 children. She wants 5. And at the end of the day, that marriage did not hold. Because,
Because of the differences in
because of the differences.
reproductive choices is
Yeah.
what we're talking about here. Okay, so let's also come down again to the African setting. A lot of things don't work for us, especially like we are not so much of a progressive society. We know that it is changing in certain climes, but some climes it is not changing. I think a couple of months back we had a country now, even I think it was even Nigeria, that assented to paternity leave for men to be able to, you know, be part of the whole system of reproduction. But let's not forget the fact that in Africa we still have a lot of systems biting that mitigates, you know, women being able to push forward. In Uganda, if I get that right, 2 weeks ago, we had a woman that was embarrassed in parliament because she was on her monthly menstrual flow. And that has been a major issue. That's still part of reproduction. You know, managing your, you know, menstrual cycle, reproductive changes while you're trying to push a career. So let's talk about balancing in workplace, you know, in the workplace environments and the women that you have on your team. And we had there's a country that has also pushed for every month every woman on the team is given
a free pass?
Yeah, a free pass. No, not even pass. Now we are looking at what do we call it? Leave for the days that you're going to be on your period.
Yes. I think
so let's talk.
let's
talk. Yeah, I think it's France. So let's talk about workplace balancing for women, as we are looking at equity.
Okay.
Now let me even add, having all the, you know, cramps and
very uncomfortable weeks in the month,
running stomach during this period and all of that, and you have to come to work.
So we are saying that an organization or organizations should have flexible human resources policies which favor the female folk looking at their circumstances and background, and that is still where the equity of a thing comes in. You know that equality is talking about give everybody a fair chance, the same thing, the same level playing ground, give it to everybody. But it does not take into consideration the background and circumstances of everybody. And that is what equity takes care of. And so when policies are made bearing equity in mind, these circumstances of women will be put into consideration. And so policies will come out, human resources policies will come out, which will put women's situations into consideration in order to also help them compete favorably or perform favorably, optimally at the workplace. The reality is that it is happening. Paternity leaves are coming in, extended maternity leave coming in some organizations, even recognition of menstrual period cramp day off or time off. All of these are coming in. But we are not there yet, and we will continue. Programs like this, days like today, awareness creation, we continue to hasten it and bring the agenda to the front burner. I may now like to suggest also that the female folks should on their own also deepen conversation and understanding about themselves in order to help, as men are pushing their agenda, they equally push their own agenda, and it is well accepted. In the Uganda parliament that you mentioned, I would like to be proved wrong if it is not a woman who embarrassed her fellow woman in the parliament. The speaker had to even be confused as to, is it a fellow woman that is even point? Why not this fellow female parliamentarian? Take this parliamentarian out and they discuss, and we don't even get to hear about it. So in some times and circumstances, women tend to be the problem of women.
Okay, I think...
yeah, she wanted to...
Yeah, please add something.
Organizations now, you find out that women are joining greatly in the senior management team. And such opportunity gives, rise in discussing issues that affect women. I know in some organizations, like our organization, for example, some of these issues are now being put into consideration. You have line manager you work with, you report to. So if you have issues like this, maybe painful menstrual cramps, you can as well talk to your line manager. They can ask you to work from home. It's allowed.
But let's even talk about the issue of, there was a time the mantra came out and it was everywhere: women helping women.
Women supporting women.
Women supporting women. You know, women supporting women, is it really happening? Do we have women support women, or we have women that constantly are pulling the other people down?
Both are happening. However, the other side of it, which is women supporting women, seems to be higher than women pulling women down.
In a present-day reality,
because even in politics, you find men coming out, you find women coming out. They tell you the women will always go to vote for the men and say that though the women are not capable enough.
Because of the stereotype again. We believe that a woman is in our subconscious that a woman cannot be the president. It's not that we can't support, but it's because of the stereotype, thinking that this leadership role is meant for men. So that's the problem.
I like the fact that you brought about stereotypes now. How do we begin to break these stereotypes? We keep talking about it. Let's break the bias. Let's break the stereotype every other day. How do we begin to break the stereotypes?
It is in practice. An organization like ours, for instance, now, I could have been sent along with somebody else that is a male, but consciously, the organization says it should be male and female. Consciously, our organization says leadership roles should not be only occupied by male alone. Most of the adverts for vacancies you see, you will see a statement that boldly will say females are encouraged to apply. And in the panel, you will not only have male members dominating the panel, you will have females present in the panel. And talking about sexual reproductive health services and equity, we have avenues where every woman, whether you are poor, whether you are living in the rurals across the river, whether you are in the metropolis, based on your economic power, your education power, there is a contraceptive affordable for you. That is equity.
Okay. All right. So I think these are, great conversations we've been able to have today. But I think one of the things that we should take as a take home, because we keep having conversations about women, International Women's Day, we should get to a point where the women can actually watch out for themselves. And like you said, push conversations in organizations that will balance out equity for women, as it were. All right. We want to say a really big thank you to you, Mr. Ibekwe, for coming on the show today and having this conversation in honor of the International Women's Day. And we also want to say a very big thank you to you, ma'am, for coming on the show today. It's been great time, full of passion hearing you talk about today. We do hope that we can get enough hugs that will go around for women in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to give equity a huge embrace. Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Thank
Giving
you.
equity a very
Even
huge.
when I feel marginalized.
Please, can we take
but
pictures? Equity.
Who's
a
marginalizing
I
you
huge
feel
right now?
very marginalized.
Why?
The embrace is just not equitably
distributed.
but all the same.
It's equitably distributed.
Let me manage I manage the one I get.
So this is Happy International Women's Day to all women, strong women out there, and of course women that are doing everything possible to continue to break the stereotype and make their voices heard. Women that are charting good causes for other women and women that are also supporting their fellow women as well. And many thanks too for men advocates. We cannot leave that aside. Men advocate like Mr. Ibekwe, that is making sure that women stand their grounds, women have that equal opportunity, and women have equity as well. My name is Janice Cobham. It's been a wonderful time on set this morning. Thank you to all those that called in for the different segments that we had. Nigerians that are always lending their voices on this particular show. We really do appreciate you, and we'll definitely see you again tomorrow.
Thank you so much to everyone who was a part of the show today. We had great time on set today. My name is Uyai Anekan, and it is great for us to be celebrating the women all over the world. Of course, from Spectrum Television and from Rise and Shine, we say Happy International Women's Day. Do have a great day wherever you are.
Thank you.